Yo, Prof here. Apologies on the state of this video, but I wanted to get you guys one for tomorrow. Before I went to sleep, if you notice all the lights were already off, that's because I was about to hit the hay. Sleeping meds definitely already kicking in. I was watching some anime, and then I remembered, oh shit, I haven't shot you all a video. And well, the first update is the printer's being dumb. I was hoping to at least run it out of all its color, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. It's regularly saying things are jammed. You just open the door, close the door, and things aren't jammed anymore. So I don't know what to do there necessarily. What's worse, though, is what you see down there. Yes. That is excrement from the hot water heater, and if we follow this up with a 5 zoom, you'll see stuff all along this. Yeah, as well as a little bit of schmutz on the actual valve itself. It's the TPM, I believe, temperature pressure monitor, temperature pressure TPV, temperature pressure valve, something like that. Basically, if pressure gets too high in here, it vents stuff down there, and it has done that. But if you notice, that is not clean. If that was clean, wouldn't be an issue. It looks like a cat's vomit down there, but it is not. That is the insides of this bad boy right here. And well, you know, that bad boy right there. So I've had to replace these before. That's not a huge issue. You just gotta make sure you drain it down past that hole. But there's more points to it. There are rods often in here. I forget what type, especially in the state I'm currently in. That can wear out. The other thing is these guys only last for 8 to 10 years. Or 8 to 12 years. I don't know if there's actually a date thing on here. It just says built to last, safety system, yada yada. But that's when it was put in. So it may be time to at least have this looked at. I know sometimes you can replace the metal bars in there and flush it, and then replace this guy, and you're good. Other times, this is a precursor to the bottom of the hot water heater rusting out and flooding your entire basement. Trying to avoid that this time. It's what happened the previous time. I know all of this was not there because that was 10 years ago. But for some reason, computers being here ends up being pretty common. It's just moved in size. And at one point during that time period, they weren't here. But whenever some construction and reworking of the house is required significantly upstairs, all the hardware comes downstairs. So, yeah. Thought I'd get you guys in on that before we made the actual video. Since the actual video was pretty... So I heard a cat. Here's the new Fiskars Pro blades I got. Carbo Max. Except they're the 25 and the 18 millimeter. Here. What's odd is I expected them to come like this. that I almost dropped based on the packaging on the website. You know, like just a longer version of this. You know, you get your cap out. Apparently, and I knew eventually they were going to switch off of doing these that I have in my hand here, because that costs a lot of money. Yeah, but I at least would have, maybe I'll try and track down some of these that use these and just refill this plastic one, because it is much nicer than having to peel that plastic back and keep it around. Like, I could easily keep this in a bag. That, you'd have to find something or make something for it to go in. Oh, the other bummer was that these don't say anything on them. It will say something on, I'm not going to use one there. I'm going to use one here. Whiskers Pro. Lift that up. Slide it out. What does that say? Right on there. Made in USA. Right? You know, something I noticed on these other ones that are supposedly the exact same. I didn't see Made in the USA on the blade. There you go. Nope, no Made in USA. It just says, what is that, Carbomax? So then I was suspicious. No Made in USA on the blade, like these should be. Made in China. Wasn't too happy about that. They're still good blades, but yeah. I'd rather see them made in the US of A. Just like the size I regularly use the most. These I actually got from my grandpa. Blade dispenser, 120 blades, Daico, I think that is. Made in the USA. Blade dispenser, blade disposal. These are from when he did printing as a living, like print making, sort of paper pressing. That's sort of a thing. Here's some herring replacement blades. Black SK5. I have a date on them when I started using them. Really don't use these that much. But these are Olfa 18 mil. But because they're custom made for CW&T, they don't have any markings on the blade themselves. So I'm kind of bummed that when I installed that, it did not have Made in the USA on there, because that was just nice. Like, you know, X-Acto isn't made in the USA anymore. Oh, hey, look at that. Fisker's blades are still made in the USA. You can see right there, Fisker's. It just says Carbon Max. It should say right there, made in the USA, or above it, made in the USA, and it sure as shit doesn't. And the reason why is because, you know, they're not. So they're not going to advertise it. As long as they're as good of a product, I'll keep using them. But unlike the X-Actos that went to to China when they moved everything over there. This at least fits still. The X-Acto, what do you want to call them? The blades, and they actually even changed how they lock when they did that. Just so you'd have to buy all new tools, which is a dick move. This guy is done, by the way, for those interested. It will just lock at any position as you need it to. So, well, how I achieved that is this copper one that's in there, that needs to be pushed as far in as possible. And with squishing these together, it wants to shoot up. So I did the corners first, then the middle. Same thing on this side, but then the other thing that has to happen once you kind of get them all in place is this upper one needs to be pushed out like that way as much as it can. That way there's enough room for it to just, look at this, no side to side play, but if I push this up, it just snaps right in like it should. So I have this thing dialed in. That's what we're going to use to open up some packages here. Last step on it is probably going to be Loctiting these screws. I'm going to back them out one at a time. Drip Loctite on the nut side. Normally I like to put it on the screw, but I'm going to drip it into the nut side and then torque them down one at a time. That way, theoretically, nothing should lose its position because it's currently beautiful. Just finished using it. With the prototype with only 4 screws together of this final version, I put up 3 lights. Did everything today with this one, and it hasn't gotten looser. But a lot of people are saying after a couple weeks, couple months, those screws will loosen up. We're gonna nip that in the butt. All right, let's go over to the station over here, and we're not gonna look at it right this second. It will in a bit. So just move some of this over. Excuse me. The reason why we went in there is because, like I said, the printer, because the server's in there. Well, my servers, they have a main OS, like they have the host, right? The hypervisor. So that, to not be grumpy and to be able to navigate that, it needs a keyboard. The cheapest one that you can get is this K400 Plus. Right? I think I'll say that on the bottom. Maybe. There you go. K400 Plus. Okay, so if you were keeping an eye out, unlike me, so I put it in Sony Places. This is the full kit. You're like, why do you have a cover on it in a case? Are you carrying it places? Yes, often I'll just shove it on top of the server or behind the server or next to the server. That way it's fine, right? Also, the bigger thing is it doesn't get dusty. Also, any other, like if you need a special USB for this specific server to do either the initial setup or reset up or to do a specific thing or a specific adapter, you can just toss it in a nice little zipper guy up top. And because this goes with a specific computer, it'll be together, right? You know, some of you may or may not have noticed, however, that let me turn some stuff on. I shouldn't have reset all. That we got a little white dot. Got one right there. I don't think I did it in the back. You won't see that anyway. Then I did one right there at the bottom of Logitech. I did one right there next to the model. And I did one right there on the end of the USB. And you're like, why? Well, that is so you know that all of this stuff goes together. You know, like this one goes, because the other one I got is, why did this video start? You're like, you've shown this before. Yes, we got another one. So that is why I have, since I believe I last opened these, added those singular dots so that people can tell, you know, like one system from another. There's the option of doing different color dots or doing multiple. Like this could be 2 dots with the whiteout, which is probably the route I'm gonna go. You can probably fit upwards of 4 dots on that USB receiver. So it's pretty obvious because that Logitech bit will always be there. Just go dot, dot. You know, you could do different colors. That's up to you. But one way that I am managing to make this different colors is that. There's the new. So let's take a peek here. I'm turning, why these? Aren't there cheaper ones? Yeah, but I want something reliable. I also know that these are the universal dongles, and I have a bunch of extra of those, so if I ever lose one, we just repair. That's why marking the dongle is actually not all that important, because you can always repair it. But in this case, when you have multiple of a single device around, you want to make sure you know what device is what item, you know? Holy shit, what? There we go. Paisley's here to help. Oh, we got ourselves a plain ass box with, oh, don't miss this. They used to ship the USB in the keyboard and people would lose it. So now they pack it right in the front of the box. I'll show you where they used to put it. Pop that up. Take that out, because you had to do that anyway. Be right there. Because it's actual storage. Here's where people lose it though. The storage isn't in here like that. The storage is in here. In here. I can do this properly. I swear I used to be able to. There you go. In there like that. The world's most fiddly thing. And then that was in here. And then they'd pull that off, never see the dongle. So that's why it got moved to the box. Probably because they kept getting a ton of support questions on where the fuck is my dongle? The other nice thing about these sitting for a long time, there is a power switch. Initially on setup, you want it green before you plug this in, then they'll auto pair. But then when you're actually not using them in their little case, you can actually turn them off so the batteries are not being drained at all. That is a hardware power switch, not any of these like software, soft button ones where it's still got to be on to monitor the switch. Nope, this just cuts power. That's why it's right. If you notice this. Batteries, juice, this way, power button right there. Very simple. That's actually why I want these keyboards, because they also have this keyboard also is a mouse. Now if I actually need to do mousing for setup, I might grab another one, but at least this qualifies for the boot of the computer as a keyboard mouse being plugged in, and it only uses a singular common, at least previously common. They're slowly going away from the universal dongle, at least in anything somewhat high. And we're going to, so this was listed as a completely different brand. So this was listed as a there you go, as a Torum 8 instead of a Tourmate. Realistically, they're the same, or damn near it. And it's pink instead of yellow, which means these are a completely different computer. Now you're like, hey, that keyboard case costs just as much as the keyboard. It does. But, so you could go with just the keyboard, leave the keyboard plugged in, put it on top. It just gets super dusty in server rooms / underneath my desk in the basement / next to the hot water heater and under the stairs in the basement. You know, so I'd rather just have a clean keyboard when I come to use it. I'll probably go dot, 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 dot. And then everybody will understand, inherently, hopefully, what that shit means. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. But yeah, these you can get cheaper keyboards nowadays than this K400 Plus. These are $35 retail, I want to say. Pretty often go down to $30. I picked this one up at 25, I think, on a Prime Day. I might have waited for that one down to go to like a 17, 18 bucks or something. These have not been changed. Another one of those things that have not been changed in over a decade because they don't need it. The only downside to that is if it's anything like the DeWalt screwdriver, they'll just stop making them after a while. And you'll have to find yourself like once yours starts to fail, or you need more of them, you have to find another solution, which is annoying. Hopefully by then Logitech makes a Logibolt variant, which would be nice anyway. So the other thing you might want to pair with this, because almost all servers or computers, especially desktop hardware, uses a server, gonna require a keyboard and mouse to be plugged in, qualified for this. Also, then you're like, well, I would plug in a keyboard and mouse anyway because I need to use it. Well, most of what you're going to do on a proper server is going to be done in a VM. So you're going to want an actual, like over there I have a Happy Hacking keyboard and a Roccat Pro Air, I think. Or something like that. Kone Pro? I don't know. You don't want those to be stuck to doing the server side of things. So what you can do is if you just plug one of these in, and have it there, that way you can assign out the higher end keyboard and mice that are plugged in, or even a whole USB hub or IOMMU group. And as long as you leave this on its own or in its own IOMMU group that's not affected, the server will always have a keyboard and mouse that are functional, you know. And that is, it makes boot up less grumpy. If you need to do something when something really goes bad, it's nice for it to be there. Like, it's worth the money to put in, especially if you're doing, you know, like I have a system over there, the Repair PC Drive owns. It is running as an Unraid server, but then one VM is running hard direct off a NVMe drive, which is not, it's just being mounted, and it runs the VM off of that NVMe drive. Reason being is that I can stop booting Unraid if needed, and I can boot straight into that Windows, as in it's not like the drive isn't virtualized, basically. It's a single hardware NVMe directly passed through to the VM. Well, Well, when you're running that in server mode, well, the server still needs a keyboard and mouse because you're going to pass one set to that virtualized system. So that's what I'm doing here. The other nice thing is, in the case of, I should say that's what I'm doing here. Oh, here's one difference. This has this rubber doodle. Oh, see, that just fell out. Which one is it for? Oh, it's got one dot. This guy. I'm gonna zip it up. So the pulls on here are the same as the pink one. Alright. Pink one does not have this nice rubber upper bit here. Notice it's just that, which is also fine. Pink one was more money, I'm pretty sure, as well. Womp womp. So, I'll need one more of these for those interested. So, for those watching this video, I need another K400 case. Ideally, a Tourmate or a Torma 8. Torma or Torm? A Torm 8. Torm 8 is the other brand that sells these. You know, like they look exactly the same. Maybe one's knocking off the other. Maybe somebody just typed in the brand wrong. If I could get like a blue or red, that'd be aces. Or really any other color other than this pink and this yellow. I want the hard case. And I do prefer having this pouch up top. Now, yes, I know this isn't scooped under because I have to set up this keyboard yet and actually plug it on the server. But I do like having this little pouch up here, you know, because say in the case of this system, it has a dummy plug that needs to be plugged into the graphics card when a monitor isn't being hooked up, so I can use the graphics card. Well, when I do a monitor hooked up, I can put the dummy plug in here. These are by no means as good as those Greekia cases that I get for my headphones, and turns out Squeers has actually gotten a couple for his keyboards. But they're not half bad, you know. They're under 20 bucks. Like, I'm gonna say 18 was one and 14 or 16 the other one. So I just gotta find another color for the third server, which isn't built yet. Third server's over there. So I've had all the hardware around here for ages because it's all, minus the case, it's all existing hardware. I'm trying to think. Might need to figure out a PSU as well. But yeah, so I'll need another one of these setups for that guy. And in that case, like in the case of my other server, when configuring the server, that's the main interface, right? When interacting with that one, because that's a backup server, that is going to be its main keyboard. But I just want to keep it, you know, because that's the interface of the backup server. That, like, physically, that's all you need. Because once you get it to a state where you can just remote in, well, you can use any old computer on the network or connect it to whatever network it's connected to, like VPN or, I was going to say snail trail. No, it's tail scale. Brain function is a little dimmed at the moment. But I think that pretty well goes over that. If you guys have any comments, questions, etc., throw them in the comments and I'll try and ask you why, you know, maybe why with these specifically, or what's a dummy plug. You know, this is just my way of, technically, like, you wouldn't even need the case as long as you don't care about it getting dirty, or if you have a clean place to put the keyboard, you know, could go that route instead. I just like having the nice case, as long as the top of the case doesn't have airflow out, which that will, but the other ones don't. Just pop it right on top, let it get as dusty and dirty as you want, unzip it, get the clean keyboard out, you know, and do what you need to do. Maybe when you're done, blow up the system, close the keyboard first, blow it up, blow the keyboard case off, back to work, you know. These used to be even cheaper, I want to say. They're not a super amazing product by any means, but the fact that you can just leave that dongle in without the key in the keyboard and the switch for the keyboard and the trackpad is off, and it's a truly off, perfect for using in these sort of like home server and other network hardware configurations. And I've had these things last for, I mean, you can see it uses the unifying plug, so you can almost imagine how old the keyboard is. Back when we were Geek Squad, we were supposed to demonstrate on like a TV that was off to one side, and they gave us one of these keyboards and dongle. I actually tied some stuff onto the dongle so that it didn't get lost. Because sometimes that little dongle, when you, in the case of this server, it's definitely out of the way. I just need a little thing denoting what it's for. But when it's in other people's stuff, I actually prefer, like with this Logitech keyboard, its dongle is quite a bit bigger, so it doesn't really get lost. But I'd consider wrapping it in whatever your color normally is, if that sort of thing. So for Geek Squad, we wrapped it in. We put a little tail, like extended a tail of electrical tape on it, and then wrapped it in orange electrical tape, to make it so that people would see the giant orange thing hanging off the back, even though it's this little tiny dongle. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Peace.